The ongoing global instability fueled by US foreign policy benefits a small but powerful group of entities and individuals across various sectors. Now you might think, isn't global instability a bad thing? And you'd be right for most of us, but for some, it's a bloody buffet. We're talking about those who thrive on chaos, who see war and economic turmoil not as tragedies, but as opportunities. From military contractors to big banks, let's uncover who really benefits from perpetual conflict and economic manipulation. We'll shine a light on the shadowy corners of power and expose the uncomfortable truth about who profits when the world burns. Buckle up, kids, because things are about to get messy.
Let's start with the most obvious beneficiaries of war, the arms dealers. These are the people who profit directly from the sale of weapons and military equipment, often with little regard for the consequences of their trade. You know, those charming folks who sell weapons of mass destruction with the same cheery disposition as a used car salesman hawking a minivan. They pitch their products with a smile, knowing full well the devastation they can cause. In the United States, the defense industry is a behemoth, raking in hundreds of billions of dollars each year. This industry is a cornerstone of the economy, employing millions and influencing policy at the highest levels. And business, as they say, is booming. The demand for advanced weaponry and military technology ensures a constant flow of revenue.
Companies like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon Technologies, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, the list goes on and on. These corporations are giants in the field, dominating the market and securing lucrative government contracts. These are the titans of war, supplying the US military and its allies with everything from fighter jets and drones to missiles and ammunition. Their products are the tools of modern warfare, essential for maintaining military dominance, and they're not shy about flexing their lobbying muscle in Washington to ensure a steady stream of contracts. Their influence extends deep into the corridors of power, shaping defense policy to their advantage.
It's a revolving door, really. Ex-government officials and military brass waltz into cushy lobbying jobs, whispering sweet nothings into the ears of lawmakers, all to keep the money flowing and the bombs dropping. This cozy relationship ensures that the defense industry's interests are always well represented. It's enough to make you wonder, are we really promoting peace? Or are we just perpetuating a system that benefits a select few at the expense of, well, everyone else? The ethical implications are staggering and the human cost is often overlooked.
Because let's be clear, every dollar spent on a bomb or a fighter jet is a dollar not spent on education, healthcare, or, things that actually make people's lives better. The opportunity cost of military spending is immense, diverting resources from critical social programs. And don't even get me started on the whole war on terror thing. It's like a never-ending buffet for these guys. The perpetual state of conflict ensures a continuous demand for their products. We've been in Afghanistan for over 2 decades, and what do we have to show for it? Trillions of dollars spent, countless lives lost, and a whole lot of weapons manufacturers laughing all the way to the bank. The cycle of war and profit seems unbreakable, leaving us to question the true cost of our actions.
Now, you might think of Wall Street as a bunch of guys in suits yelling about numbers, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong. The chaos you see is real, but it's also a well-oiled machine. But they're also masters at profiting from chaos. They thrive on it, in fact. War, economic crises, natural disasters, you name it, they've found a way to make money off it. It's almost like they have a playbook for every disaster. Take, for instance, the 2008 financial crisis. Remember that little doozy? It was a nightmare for most people. Well, while millions of people lost their homes and livelihoods, struggling to make ends meet, big banks like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and Bank of America, they walked away with billions in taxpayer-funded bailouts. It was like a reward for their reckless behavior.
Oh, and let's not forget about the hedge funds that swooped in to buy up distressed assets for pennies on the dollar. They were like vultures circling a dying animal. They made a killing. Literally and figuratively, the profits were astronomical. But it's not just about profiting from disaster, it's about creating opportunities where none should exist. These financial institutions also play a key role in financing conflict. They are deeply embedded in the machinery of war, They provide loans to governments and corporations involved in war, ensuring that the cycle of violence continues. They invest in weapons manufacturers, fueling the production of arms and ammunition. And they engage in all sorts of shady financial transactions that help fuel the flames of instability. It's a vicious cycle.
And then there are the vulture funds. These are the real predators of the financial world. These delightful characters buy up the debt of struggling countries at a discount, taking advantage of their dire situations, and then they sue those countries for the full amount, dragging them through lengthy legal battles, often forcing them to slash social spending and public services just to make payments. It's a brutal tactic. It's like a financial death grip, and it's incredibly predatory. The impact on these countries is devastating.
Oil, the lifeblood of modern civilization and a constant source of conflict and instability. And who benefits most from this? Why, the oil giants, of course. ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, BP. These companies have a long and sordid history of meddling in geopolitics, cozying up to dictators and profiting from war.
Think about it, every time there's a conflict in a major oil-producing region, what happens? Oil prices skyrocket and these companies rake in record profits. It's like clockwork. And they're not afraid to use their immense wealth and influence to shape government policy in their favor. Lobbying, campaign contributions, you name it, they do it. They're like the puppet masters you never see, pulling the strings from behind the scenes.
And let's not forget about the environmental devastation caused by the oil industry. Oil spills, air pollution, climate change. These are all externalities that the rest of us have to deal with, while the oil companies continue to line their pockets. In the digital age, information is power, and no one understands this better than the intelligence and private security industries.
From government agencies like the CIA and NSA to private contractors like Palantir Technologies and Academy, these groups are raking in billions by collecting, analyzing, and sometimes even weaponizing information.
The surveillance state is upon us, folks, and it's big business. We're talking about mass data collection, facial recognition, predictive policing, all in the name of national security, of course.
But where do we draw the line? When does the pursuit of security become an infringement on our basic liberties?
And then there are the private security contractors. These are the modern-day mercenaries, hired guns who operate with little oversight or accountability.
They provide security for government officials, corporations, and anyone else willing to pay their hefty fees.
But their track record is riddled with human rights abuses, corruption, and a blatant disregard for the rule of law.
In a world saturated with information, it's easy to forget that the media we consume is often carefully curated to shape our perceptions and influence our opinions.
And when it comes to war and conflict, the media plays a crucial role in manufacturing consent.
Think about it. How often do we hear the voices of ordinary people in conflict zones? How often do we get a nuanced understanding of the historical and geopolitical factors that contribute to war?
The answer, sadly, is not often enough.
Instead, we're bombarded with sensationalized headlines, biased reporting, and a constant drumbeat of fear and outrage.
The media often acts as a cheerleader for war, demonizing enemies, glorifying the military, and downplaying the human cost of conflict.
And let's not forget about the revolving door between the media, government, and the military-industrial complex. Journalists embedded with military units, former government officials turned news commentators, media moguls with vested interests in war. It's all a bit too cozy for comfort.
Now let's delve into the shadowy world of think tanks and policy groups. These organizations often present themselves as neutral arbiters of knowledge, but in reality they wield immense influence over government policy, shaping the world in their image. Groups like the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, these are the power brokers, the architects of global domination. They bring together politicians, business leaders, academics, and media figures to discuss and shape the world order. And their agenda is often one of maintaining US hegemony, promoting free trade, and advancing the interests of the global elite. Now, I'm not saying that these groups are some evil cabal controlling everything from behind the scenes, but I am saying that their influence is undeniable, and their agenda is often at odds with the interests of ordinary people. So there you have it, a glimpse into the complex and often unsettling world of those who profit from global instability. These entities thrive on chaos and uncertainty, manipulating situations to their advantage. While these powerful institutions and companies benefit, the global population bears the cost. Ordinary people face the brunt of these manipulations, often without even realizing it. US taxpayers fund endless wars, contributing to a cycle of violence and destruction that seems never-ending. Developing nations suffer from economic sanctions and debt traps, which stifle growth and perpetuate poverty, and civilians in conflict zones face death and destruction, their lives torn apart by forces beyond their control. It's a vicious cycle, and it's hard to see a way out. The system is designed to keep us trapped with few options for escape. The real beneficiaries are military contractors, big banks, oil corporations, intelligence agencies, and think tanks, all of whom have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, while ordinary people suffer the consequences, struggling to make ends meet and live in peace. We're told that war is necessary, that it's a part of life we must accept, that economic hardship is inevitable, a natural consequence of a complex world, that surveillance is for our own good, to keep us safe from unseen threats. But who benefits from these narratives? Who stands to gain from our compliance and fear? Who profits from our fear and insecurity? These are the questions we need to ask. Is there any way to break this system, to disrupt the cycle of exploitation and control? Or are we stuck in a loop where war and economic domination will always continue, perpetuated by those who benefit from it? These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves. We must challenge the narratives and seek the truth, because if we don't, the profiteers of instability will continue to thrive, growing richer and more powerful. And the rest of us will continue to pay the price, bearing the burden of a system designed to exploit us.